The day is October 9th, 2024. I woke up late in my college dorm, rushed to get on my clothes as soon as possible to get to my America in American cinema class. Good class. As I waited in the elevator for the 7th floor, I checked my student email, something I rarely do. My reward for this flash of academic integrity was an email stating that the class had been canceled. As I sat in the lobby of my building, a flush of kinetic energy left my body. I checked the rest of my notifications to see Nintendo had uploaded a trailer for not a game, but...
This is Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo, an interactive alarm clock that's out of the ordinary.
Now, needless to say, I was in love. The beauty of niche tech like this is completely enamoring to me. A Nintendo-themed alarm clock with motion sensors that detect when you wake up? Awesome! $100! Not awesome. Not bad, just not right now. Sadly, despite my literal walk away from Nintendo NYC, I simply did not have the money to hawk over for the Nintendo Alarmo. That's okay, though, since in the most non-Nintendo way possible, they released 2 things in a month. Was it a game? No. Was it another clock? No. Switch 2?
Listen to music from some of your favorite Nintendo games. Introducing Nintendo Music. Nintendo Music features a variety of tracks from franchises such as Animal Crossing, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, and many more. You can listen to curated playlists based on different themes. From recent releases to nostalgic classics, more music will be added over time. It is available exclusively to Nintendo Switch Online members.
Yeah, so in the most Nintendo move possible, after keeping all of their soundtracks off of platforms like Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Nintendo just made their own. Actually, Nintendo has their own version of the Domino's Pentagon Theory. Do you know the Domino's Pentagon Theory?
It's basically saying, depending on the severity of an issue happening at the Pentagon, the dominoes closest to the Pentagon gets noticeably busier on Google Maps. Well, when Nintendo took down another Metroid 2 remake, we got Samus Returns. And when they took down full-screen Mario, we got Super Mario Maker. And when they attacked Giva Sunner...
They might as well have came from our goddamn constitutional rights.
Now, obviously Nintendo is about as litigious as any company can be. But it's still funny to pretend that someone at Nintendo was looking at fan creations and saying,
"Fuck, it's genius. Why didn't I think of that?"
And that about brings us up to speed with today's topic. In an effort to review Nintendo Music, the Nintendo Alarmo, and somewhat the Nintendo Today app, I decided to dedicate an entire week to listening to nothing but Nintendo music. Because how else was I supposed to spend my spring break?
So, music streaming software. Right, so maybe I'm disqualified from talking about this, or maybe I'm the perfect person to talk about this. Mostly because Sega, the Sega Sound Team, has been my #1 recorded artist for the last 3 years. It used to be Kanye West. But basically, I've decided that this week, my spring break week, which is 9 days, oh please. I decided I was going to live my life the way Nintendo would want me to. That means I'll be using the Nintendo Alarmo every morning. I kind of already do, but we're going to pretend like I'm going to document it. And the actual challenge this week will be listening to only Nintendo music. Seeing what comes out of that experience. I guess this is just a vlog. Please don't click off the video. My week started immediately as I made it back home for my college's spring break. Because, for the record, as I said, it was just a single week. That meant I basically had to do this experiment for my entire spring break. I guess.
It's not like that's so bad. The state I left my room in from being home during winter and quickly leaving again meant for me to truly attain any enlightenment during this experiment, I would need a clean mind in which to better absorb the sounds of Nintendo music. So the first task showed itself immediately, cleaning my room with Nintendo music.
Today is Friday, April 11th. So I just got home from college. This is my childhood bedroom. And would you believe me if I told you the Lego Sonic stuff was actually from not even like 5 months ago? If at any point anyone wants to comment, Joey, why do you have NFT monkey painting or pictures or whatever you want? My sister painted those meticulously. And I asked for a monkey smoking a cigarette for Christmas. I asked her to paint me a monkey smoking a cigarette for Christmas, and then she gave me 4 NFT monkeys. And there's a weird dichotomy between how incredible she did, though. Actually, it's a pretty ironic take on NFTs. She made them herself, and she did a great job, but they're NFTs now. I don't even think they're smoking. No, they're smoking. Today's first challenge is going to be cleaning my desk, because my desk is absolutely disgustingly messy. And I was going to watch YouTube and do it the whole time, but just kidding. This is a great excuse for me to clean my room.
The first thing that really assaulted me with Nintendo music was, I suppose as broadly as it can put, the music selection. Or, well, if you don't mind me being silly, here's an entire list as of April 11th, 2025, the date I filmed this, of every soundtrack available on the app. Luigi's Mansion, F-Zero, F-Zero Expansion, Kirby the Forgotten Land, Tetris, Dr. Mario, Super Mario Bros. 3, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Super Mario Bros. 2, Street Pass, Plaza, Gold Plaza, Super Mario World, Pokemon League, Legends of Zelda: Super Mario Kart, Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong, Double Trouble, Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword, Wave Race 64, Splatoon 3, Minutes a Day, F-Zero, Wii Sports, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong Quest, Super Mario Bros. 1, Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Wii Channels, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Bros. Star Fox 64, Splatoon 3, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Dr. Mario Tomodachi Collection, Nintendo Pikmin 4, Fire Emblem Blazing Blade, Pokemon Scarlet Violet, Kirby Star Rail, Kirby Star Allies, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Metroid Prime! Out of all these titles, before July 20th, there was a total of 18 NES, Famicom, Game Boy Advance, and SNES games. Of course, those games have 8-bit and 16 soundtracks exactly. Now, why do I say specifically July 20th? Well, as of July 21st, 2025, Nintendo added a whopping 27 NES games to the service, meaning, even now, 3 months, 9 days, almost 9,000 fucking hours later, the majority of Nintendo's premier music streaming platforms, it all sounds like this!
Hey, so at risk of sounding completely psychotic, here's a graph. Nintendo Music's percentage of chiptune, 8-bit, 16-bit music, whatever you want to call it, NES, SNES, Famicom, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, all of that added up is 56.3% of the entire platform. 56! I don't know how to quantify this, because what I'm trying to argue here is entirely subjective. But there cannot be that much demand that Nintendo is flooding their platform with this. Those son of a bitches just made me play Wild Gunman for the NES against my will.
So here's the kicker. The point I'm trying to make with this is that the service has no way to shuffle them out at all. Nothing. So when you listen to playlists created by Nintendo Music, obviously one of the main draws of the app, considering its pathetic content lineup, you suffer from a lot of this.
Underage drinking is cringe.
With that aside, my room was finally clean. And while I hope this isn't too surprising, it wasn't a bad time. Sure, I had to skip a lot of the chiptune tracks to really get into the zone, and sure, the Powering Up playlist had a lot of what I would refer to as calmer tracks from the Kirby and the Forgotten Land. But that's kind of subjective.
Wow. My desk looks so much cleaner now that I've cleaned it. All thanks to Nintendo Music. Let's just put this camera down. Oh!
Either way, to wrap up day one, I got to work on my pewter and decided to cap off the night with a shower.
So, we just kind of wrapped up my impromptu day one. Today was Friday. And I only really listened to music twice. You saw the first time on camera when I was kind of cleaning up the room. And the second time I decided to put on a playlist while I was in the shower. Obviously I didn't record that part. Not until 5,000. 5 million subscribers. I went to put on a relax playlist, but I just couldn't find one. And then I put on a rainy playlist, and then that playlist was literally just every song for every hour of Animal Crossing New Horizons when it rains. And that, like, low-key pissed me off. I guess I'll get this out of the way first. I wish Nintendo Switch Music had a way for me to turn off all chiptune. Or, like, 8-bit, 16-bit music. I just don't want to listen to that mixed in with all this stuff, and I don't want to have to manually undo or, like, block every song. I know you can block entire games. I don't think you can block entire franchises. No offense, I would block Pokemon. Just because right now, Nintendo Switch Music is literally just the Switch Pokemon games, and I fucking hate those, actually. Let's also end today with 2 video games, and this is going to be really hypocritical, 2 video game soundtracks that I wish were in Nintendo Music right now. First one's going to have to be Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. That one's just too easy. That one's fantastic. Easily one of my top. And then actually, this one might come in clutch. The second game for today that I'm going to say I wish was in Nintendo Music is Mario Super Sluggers. I think that's what it's called. Mario Super Sluggers on the Wii. I actually listened to that a lot more than I would like to admit. Which, you know, is kind of the whole point, right? It's like, well, I actually listen to a lot of video game music. It's just Nintendo's decided to shepherd all of their music onto this one streaming app. And now they don't have all their music on it still. I remember I was in class like a week ago, and I got the notification that Luigi's Mansion music got added. It was the happiest that was the highlight of my day. Because I love the Luigi's Mansion soundtrack, which also will lead into, hopefully it's now 11:30. So now we can talk about the Nintendo Alarmo. For the purposes of today, it's important I let you know when I go to sleep at night, or at least when I tell my Nintendo Alarmo. Oh! Yeah, so at 11:30, I put it to fall asleep. And the Nintendo Alarmo does sleepy sounds, which is basically just a single track looped, you know, like really calm music. Personally, my favorite we might get into is the Pikmin 4 music, because I love the end of day Pikmin 4 music. It's fantastic. There's only one problem with it. It lasts 5 minutes. As you can see, it's 11:30 right now. I'm not in bed, and by the time I do get in bed, they've actually updated the software on the clock so that now, if you move your hand, you can see there's this little bar right here saying "Stay still," so the sleepy sounds won't play or whatever. Yeah. I'm not gonna go to bed in 5 minutes, so it's really fucking useless. Which sucks because I would love a Nintendo-themed noisemaker at the end of every night. Except for when I wouldn't, which we'll also get into later. But for now, I will see you guys at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll just have to see what the alarm is going to be. Personally, I don't think many people that have the Nintendo Alarmo don't do this. But I have mine set to random at all times, so it just picks from every single one, and I think that's actually awesome. I love that about the clock, is that I never know what my alarm is going to be. I do genuinely think that the Mario Kart 7, I think it's internet settings music plays, That is one of the best. I think that's the second best. Yeah, that is the second best. The only one really topping it right now is Pikmin 4. We might make a more definitive playlist later. For now, I'm going to stay perfectly still as if I was being attacked by a dinosaur, and then we'll let that nighttime music play. I can't turn my head to look. There we go. Again, that's pretty fucking awesome. This is great. 5 minutes on the clock. Go to bed now, quick.
Day 2 starts our closer look at Nintendo Alarmo. No, not the Nintendo Alamo. That was different, even though Mario was there too. The Nintendo Alarmo is an alarm clock that, in concept, uses motion sensors to play interactive and dynamic noises while you wake up, stopping the alarm when you get out of bed automatically. The clock uses a variety of sounds and music from games to, as any alarm would, wake you up. While very fun in concept, you might have noticed something. The people in the ads are all in their own beds.
Joey, you fucking virgin. What does that mean? Well, that means the Nintendo Alarmo is pretty much just for people like Milhouse's dad.
I sleep in a racing car. Do you?
I sleep in a big bed with my wife.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, all you bachelors and bachelorettes. The Nintendo Alarmo's key feature only works if there's one person in your bed. Which, obviously, for the sake of the video, I had to kick out my super awesome girlfriend out of the bed.
You guys don't know her. She goes to a different YouTube channel.
Well, you do have the option to disable the motion sensor part of the alarm for a more analog approach to the Alarmo. So, I guess your wife and your wife's boyfriends can still have fun with their new Mario clock. There's also more features than the alarm. Every hour, depending on the theme, you can enable hourly chimes to top off the hour, and every night, as you may have seen, the clock detects motion near the bed area and plays sleepy sounds. For a total of 5 minutes. Not ideal. In fact, this is such a misfire, you can pretty much forget about the idea of falling asleep to it. At least, unless they patch that sometime in the future, which they have shown some initiative to patching their alarm clock. The Nintendo Alarmo got an update a while into the service to let you preview what each alarm sounds like. And yes, previewing what each alarm sounds like was not a feature out of the box. Either way, day 2 started with,
"Good morning. I have absolutely no idea what just happened."
For the record, I'm being perfectly still.
I think my alarm clock is edging. I'm just gonna go back to bed and wait for my clock to fucking do its job. Oh. No, okay.
"But Joey," the eagle-eyed viewer might notice, "the time is 8:30 something. You have your Alarmo set for 7:30. What happened?" "You're right." Somehow, as if the Alarmo knew it was being reviewed this week, the Alarmo's first day on the job, it freaked out for some reason. What you're seeing on the clock is the message, "If no motion is detected, the alarm will resume." That's because the Alarmo kept false flagging itself into thinking I was out of bed for some reason, thus stopping the alarm and playing the exclusive sound that happens when you naturally end the alarm by getting out of bed, even though I was still in bed.
What the fuck is this guy's problem?
Why? Was it the fan? Maybe. I had just moved, and my Alarmo was calibrated for my very high-up twin bed in my dormitory, so I wouldn't be surprised. I just recalibrated the clock for the next night and got in my car to go to work.
It's time for my drive to work, kids. So it looks like I'm not going to be listening to YouTube music. Looks like I'm going to be listening to Nintendo music. Or I could listen to whatever Italian DVDs my Nonna has in this car. Actually, I could probably get copyrighted for that.
Work doesn't exactly lead to many opportunities to listen to Nintendo music like driving does, which is cool, because it gave me more time to talk about the Nintendo Alarmo. where one of my biggest problems with Nintendo Music was the lack of variety and ability to remove certain songs from the queue.
One of my problems with the Nintendo Alarmo is the lack of variety and inability to remove alarms from the queue.
The Nintendo Alarmo has an admittedly okay selection of titles: Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Pikmin 4, and one I'll get to later. With updates, it received Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Bros., the original on the NES, and while they weren't added by the time of recording in April 2025, Animal Crossing New Horizons finally made it to the clock in late May, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land made its way on October 9th. I actually didn't notice the update icon on my clock for almost a week. And unfortunately, due to the timing of its release, it's actually Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus StarCrest Worlds. Which obviously rolls off the tongue super easily and fits snugly on the Nintendo Alarmo selection screen. Now, saving us all the trouble, I'll just say this.
I do not care for Ring Fit Adventure.
Out of every game in the Nintendo Switch era, Kirby, Donkey Kong, Fire Emblem, Smash Brothers, the Alarmo got a bunch of Ring Fit Adventure alarms. Here's what one sounds like.
Uh-oh. I knew these guys would show up. To defeat the monsters that Drago created, you'll have to fight against them in battles. No need to worry. I'm a battle expert. So if you're feeling a bit intimidated, just leave it to me.
This is the part where I lay out my subjective criticism that no matter how fucking cool you personally think the Ring Fit Adventure soundtrack is, they should not be putting this in the fucking Alarmo. Or at least they should have a way for you to exclude alarms from your morning rotation. I actually like every other alarm. I just don't like this one specific game. If Nintendo has the foresight to let you shuffle alarms from category to category on top of shuffling every single available alarm, why the hell can't they let you kick them out? Truly, it boggles my mind the amount of half steps Nintendo takes with the products they put out sometimes. But enough of that. Let's catch up with Joey as he gets out of work.
Hey, so you know what? Full respect. I'm done with work today, right? First of all, I found the most spectacular thing in the world. It's called buffalo chicken sandwich flavored Chex Mix. It was so good, I had to go back to the Dollar Tree 3 times because I ate one and I was like, damn, this is good. And then after work, I went to the thing and I ran and I grabbed like 3 of them. And the lady at the cash register, she was like, you just had to come back and get some more, didn't you? That's so embarrassing. Why would you say that to me? I'm sorry. No, it's a crime to live. I thought I was being a little overdramatic about the Animal Crossing Rainy Day soundtrack. The playlist was called Rainy Day. So I'm like, oh, it's rainy music from like all Nintendo. No, it's literally just the music that plays from like 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. for Animal Crossing New Horizons. I thought I was being a bit of a wimp, right? So I said, let me put it on. I hate to be that guy. I think New Horizons soundtrack sucks. Low-key. Maybe it's just me. This is great. It just, I don't know. All right. I gotta go to dinner with Johnny.
And to dinner with Johnny I went, where I made sure to get his opinions on Nintendo Alarmo and the Nintendo Music app.
Can you say that Turkey Club was sucking and fucking me?
What?
What?
Pardon?
Can you say that Turkey Club was sucking and fucking me?
No, I can't actually.
Oh, hello. You've caught me edging my alarm clock. Well, at the end of day 2, I can safely say I listened to the Rainy Day soundtrack that I said I was going to. I also realized that the app actually does have a history program, so you can see what I'm watching throughout the day. I figured now is the best time to say this. You know, Mario Kart had the internet settings music. All these things have calm-sounding games. What are they going to do for Super Mario Brothers? You know, this was the newest alarm clock that got added. Was I excited? No. I was really excited when I got the new alarm, but then when I found out it was Super Mario Brothers themed, I was really fucking let down. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. For reference, this thing doesn't have Animal Crossing on it yet. It's got 3 Marios on it. It's a little weird. I'm glad to tell you it's a jukebox. It's a little music box of the main Mario theme. It's very cute. However, I hate these alarms. I hate them in the same way I hate using the standard iPhone alarm sound, because it's scary. The two Nintendo games I want to see put on the... I think the two Nintendo games that I want to see put on the Nintendo Music app that I haven't seen yet, I'm going to have to go with The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes for the Nintendo 3DS, and then Mario Kart Wii. Duh! It thinks I slept for 8 hours yesterday. Wait, that is true. It's important to note that the Nintendo Alarmo both keeps track of your sleep hours and movement while you sleep. I don't know what Nintendo does with that personal information. And also, you can only view it and access it on your clock. There is no integration between the Nintendo Switch Online app nor the new Nintendo Life app, as far as we're concerned yet. And no, the Nintendo Music app has no connectability between any of those either. Unfortunately, all of these apps are extremely similar, serve very useful functions, and have no integration between any of them. They're all distant exes, for all they know. They all blocked each other on social media. Well, aside from that fantastic turkey club sandwich I had with Johnny and his brother, I better go to sleep because I still have work tomorrow morning. In fact, I gotta be up earlier than I was last night. I did stay up watching Mission Impossible, and it was a great movie. And it's weird how Tom Cruise is kind of like the opposite of an actor, where when he acts, he looks like a normal person, but when he's not acting, he's a really scary person. I would have never seen that coming. Good night.
Sunday was exhausting. I had 2 jobs in one day, and when I got back home, all I wanted to do was sit down and make some thumbnails for that night's stream, which I did without the help of Nintendo Music.
Hey, wow, it's Joey from like 5 minutes before this segment was recorded. I don't know if I brought it up yet, but man, I'm working on some schoolwork right now, and it'd be awesome if I could listen to Nintendo Music without having to have my smartphone. They don't have a website. There's no fucking website.
I decided to pair my Sunday drives with the soundtrack for Wii Sports, which was absolutely amazing. While I certainly ran out of tracks after a certain amount of time, I let it keep repeating for the sake of the vibe. So for today, I wanted to go through some notes I wrote during recording. For the Alarmo day in and day out, I felt that the shuffle wasn't always the most satisfying for me. More specifically, I found that getting a different alarm from the same game 2 days in a row could really feel disappointing considering the, albeit somewhat varied nature of the alarms present. More specifically, this is the part where I felt like talking some statistics.
Hey, let's talk some statistics. So again, I made another pie chart. I actually have it pulled up on my laptop right here too. I'm not gonna lie to you. So first things first, the thing that really surprised me about this pie chart is everything is like surprisingly equal. That really blew my mind because using the Nintendo Alarmo as long as I have, it really felt like I was hearing one more than the other, or the other more than this, or I hadn't heard this in a really long time. So to see the pie chart and kind of see, 10%, 10%, 13, 11, 10, 13, really surprised me. In fact, I don't remember the exact date that Animal Crossing's alarms showed up. I believe it was somewhere around July, maybe late April. Yeah, it was late April, actually, I think. Okay. Which is why I'm so surprised that it only takes up 5% of the overall graph here. What is really surprising, motherfucker! Super Mario Bros. On the NES takes up 21 fucking % of the graph! Those are the worst ones! Have you ever woken up to the default iPhone alarm? The fucking That's what every single fucking NES Mario alarm sounds like. They all sound like absolute fucking That's how I fucking wake up every morning to those things. Also, the sleepy sound for that fucking sucks. sucks. It's the worst one. The NES one is worse than the Ring Fit Adventure ones, and that's saying a lot from me. Moreover, I actually have them all written down day by day here, and a really fucking suspicious thing has happened. So the order in which it's going here is, Mario, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, NES Mario, Pikmin, NES Mario, Mario Zelda, Mario Kart, Ring Fit Adventure, NES. It's going in a normal order until September 17th. On September 17th, 2025, I woke up to a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe alarm. And since then, I have not heard a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe alarm in a month and 3 days. I don't understand. To break down the numbers here, most of these are, the Mario, the Zelda, the Pikmin ones, these are like, I've heard them 6 times, I've heard them 7 times, I think the Mario Kart one is like 8 times I've heard, and then the NES Mario is a whopping 13 times. I don't get the...
With that being said, Nintendo Music suffers from a lot of major to minor oddities. To go off on a weird aside, as if that isn't the entire video, here's a list of miscellaneous things that make no sense about Nintendo Music, for me at least. For starters, the character playlists. Weird playlists that feature barely 8 to 10 tracks of music for characters like Mustard, Boo, Wiggler, and probably others, if you could access all available character playlists on the homepage in their own tab instead of having to go into the game soundtrack itself to see them. Nintendo Music also doesn't have any playlists for consoles, which is a huge missed potential, obviously. There's also this annoying discrepancy between games that exist on more than one console being placed in both categories. Like how Breath of the Wild is in both the Wii U and Switch category, despite no difference between the soundtracks. Or, if you want to be obnoxious, Luigi's Mansion, Metroid Prime, both Galaxy games, Captain Toad, Super Mario Bros. U, as well as pretty much every remaster, also features the exact same soundtrack, and simply forwards you to the original game soundtrack. They even went through the effort of changing the box art to the remastered versions of these for some, despite them, again, literally just being a duplicate of a soundtrack already on the service. They can go through all of that effort for no reason, but they can't credit the composers to literally any track on the software. That's a whole other can of worms. Instead, hell, I'd argue Ocarina of Time 3D fits into the category of annoyance as well. Except, they put in way more effort for that title, replacing all the screenshots of the album art with its 3DS counterpart for literally the same soundtrack. Okay, that was a little facetious, since according to Reddit, Ocarina of Time 3D includes 2 new tracks and omits many minor tracks from 64. Other than that, apparently, Ocarina of Time 3D sounds better, but it's not really significant. So they're basically 2 completely different soundtracks. That's probably why it took 8 fucking months to put it on the app.
It was all that 3D. Took up a lot of space.
Chad, you get to be here for this. Not even kidding. Well, at the end of day 3, I can safely say Nintendo Music is scarily becoming very old very fast. I hate to admit that because I kind of found my shit today. And that was by completely ignoring all of the pre-existing playlists that Nintendo Music very kindly gives you. I say very kindly as if it's not the bare minimum. And I just listened to the Wii Sports soundtrack all day. That was it. My entire drive from work, I just listened to the Wii Sports soundtrack. My drive back, I listened to the Wii Sports soundtrack. There was a little bit where I listened to Mario Odyssey, and even then, I don't really know how they're picking the top tracks for these playlists, or for
just in general. Because do you really expect me to believe one of the top tracks from Mario Odyssey, that entire game, you're telling me the Caterpillar boss from New Donk City got into the top tracks playlist? I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe my problem with Nintendo Music is that I've been listening to the playlist, and the playlists are the things that are just like, you know, they're really, really, really a mixed bag here, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. No, because I went to Mario Odyssey, and then, oh, the Caterpillar boss. I'm trying not to skip a lot of these songs. Maybe that's like a weird bias that I'm giving myself, but I'd rather not skip the songs because I'm trying to be a little more over general with my with the review of the service. Another really annoying thing I'm gonna cap off tonight's conversation with. Three annoying things I'm gonna cap off with. First of all, there are only 2 Game Boy Advance games on Nintendo Music, and that's not exactly a problem. Instead, the problem is that it's Golden Sun and Fire Emblem. Who's picking these? Another annoying thing I started to realize was I wanted to see if there were console playlists. If there was a playlist that's just Wii music, just Nintendo Switch music, etc. There isn't, as far as I can tell. But it does link with your Nintendo Switch Online app to like give you games that you've played. There's a Your Games tab, which, by the way, it's the homepage, and then the search tab is its own separate thing. I kept wanting to click in the top corner of the screen to search for music, but no, it's on the bottom. It's its own separate tab and menu. It's incredibly confusing design. But on the top of that search tab gives you all of the games on your Nintendo Switch account. And I couldn't tell if it was actually reading my Nintendo Switch account or if it was just having really lucky guesses because I own a lot of Switch games. But then I realized that it was only recommending me the Mario, Zelda, and Kirby games and none of the Pokemon games. So, touche, it actually does show you your Nintendo Switch games. It looks like that's time for today. The 2 games I wish they would add to Nintendo Music, I think they should add Nintendo Land Music for the Wii U, and I think it's an utter crime that Super Mario Sunshine soundtrack, despite being on the Nintendo Switch, is not here on Nintendo Music. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay.
I started the morning off with a shower, and to spice things up, I tried to listen to the Skyward Sword soundtrack. But I just couldn't shake something. Something I thought wouldn't bite me as much as I thought it would, given my relatively neurodivergent music tastes. I was starting to miss regular music.
Good morning. This is my breakfast. It's oatmeal in a cup. It's the first day of above 50-degree weather, and I'm very happy about it. I've decided that throughout the last literally 3 days, I've kind of been getting these urges and itches of music that I miss. Not gonna lie to you, I haven't opened up the YouTube Music app, and I miss it a lot. I decided to make a mental list of every song that I miss, or every song that I've had just an urge to listen to, but I haven't let myself, because I have to listen to Infiltrating Goron Village from Skyward Sword, I Feel Alive from the Minecraft movie soundtrack, Quiet Desperation by Scatman John, Canned Heat by Jamiroquai, Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai, Janet Jackson's Someone to Call My Lover, I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, all of Ninja Sex Party's discography. I miss that a lot right now. I think I've been listening to Nintendo music for long enough that I'm forgetting Nintendo games. There's just such a small collection, and it's such a weird... Like, what happened to Donkey Kong Country? There's no Donkey Kong Country on Nintendo Life. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. There's no Donkey Kong Country past the year 2000. Yeah, I want to crank it to some 16. I want to crank it to some 69 Chunky Kong. I want to crank it to some 16-bit fucking... There's a Wrinkly Kong playlist! Who's listening to that? It's just such a weird app. I can't... It doesn't feel like a human made it. We still have like 4 days left of this experiment.
Just like that, it was time to head to work again, and I decided my cheese strat of listening to the Wii Sports soundtrack like yesterday just wouldn't cut it anymore.
So, it's actually beautiful outside, which is great. First, like I said before, first 50-degree day. That sucks. But I figured it's cheating if I listen to Wii Sports music again, and I kind of listened to Skyward Sword soundtrack today. I think I'm going to try and listen to the Super Mario Odyssey soundtrack. No, that's the thing. I feel like I blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, the Wii Sports music was so good. And maybe it's just because I'm 21 and I grew up with the Wii, but it's like, I can't do that again. It feels like cheating. Maybe I'll listen to the Dead Baby playlist. Oh, you don't know the Nintendo Music Dead Baby playlist? The Luigi's Mansion Chauncey Dead Baby playlist that features 4 songs? No, I listen to that when I walk.
And, well, clearly I was bitter. But I was onto something considering all the character playlists were pitifully bad. There's an awkward list of things you can say about the character playlists in Nintendo Music, yet, in my enlightened state, I have a hard time deciding what the harm in them even is. Yes, it's funny that Dead Baby from Luigi's Mansion has a playlist of like 2 songs, and yes, it's funny Mario does not. I repeat, Super Mario himself has no character playlist.
It's because he's Italian, and we are an oppressed class.
I try to put myself in the shoes of people forced to curate these impossible playlists of C-tier characters from the small pile of games allotted to them, as if anyone working on this app gave it any more commitment than Nintendo gives Mario's job or relationship status.
Whoa, Joey, you're really going to bat for Mario here. You're really defending Mario here. Really sticking your neck out for Mario here. Well, he's me. It's a me. It's a me.
Well, whatever then. It's like the more you look at Nintendo Music, the more it tends to fall to pieces. Seriously. To appease the eager in my audience, here's a collection of the stupidest playlists I could find on the app. While I do think it's sweet that these playlists are here, at what point am I just handing out pity points together for a 2-minute long playlist dedicated to the dog from Nintendogs? Just kidding, that's not real. This almost feels like malicious compliance after a certain point. And for the sake of fairness, playlists like Bowser and Zelda are close to over an hour long, so it's not like the feature's entirely worth throwing out. Obviously it's not. But the fact that they even leave some of these in really makes you scratch your head. Like, why not just make a playlist dedicated to the whole Kong family tree instead of each individual member? I don't know. I just don't know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's the end of my work weekend. I'm a little tired. I'm just gonna... I take notes, so I figured instead of coming up with some conversation, I was just going to directly read you the notes that I took for today. First of all, the 2 games that I would recommend Nintendo add to Nintendo Music is Kirby's Epic Yarn for the Nintendo Wii, and I'm going with a screwball pitch. No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again, specifically. Future Joey, did you censor me in my underwear? Can you see my underwear? Awesome.
Okay. No sleepy sound for me tonight. I thought I got in bed early enough, too. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of another thing about the Nintendo Alarmo I don't really know how to explain. It's that I don't know how to reactivate the sleepy sound. I don't know a way to activate it, period. I mean, that's a good example. The screen is dimming because it's reacting to the screen dimming and brightening itself to react to my motions in front of it. So clearly it's detecting my motion, but no sleepy sound for me tonight. Okay.
Well, even though the sleepy sounds didn't really work, it's not like they played long enough to really miss them anyways. Besides, I had a long day ahead of me. My first day off of work was finally beginning, and the weather finally smiled upon me in a way that told me, "Go touch grass." And, well, some other chores had to be addressed first, sadly.
You know what? It's such a beautiful morning. The weather's perfect. I think I'm finally going to take the opportunity to go outside and take a fuck.
So let's use this time to talk about something that kind of irks me with the alarms Nintendo offers on the Alarmo. The Pikmin ones specifically. For those, I have a hard time even telling them apart. Seriously, to me they all kind of sound the exact same. Give some a listen. Now, there's some screwballs thrown into the mix, like Groovy Longlegs Alarm and Saving the Drowning Pikmin? I'm again stuck in a position between so weirdly specific no human could choose this, and so stupid and niche only Nintendo would do this. But sadly, that still leaves a decent portion of the alarms offered on the clock as basic-ass ambiance filled with high-pitched men moaning?
One sec. Yeah? The Nintendo Alarmo just sold an extra 50,000 units? Okay.
The bigger issue here, it seems, with certain alarms like the Pikmin and Animal Crossing ones is that they opted to make the music they play during the alarm take a back seat to the noises made by the characters in said games, such as with the Pikmin noises or the Animalese spoken by the Animal Crossing characters. That leaves those specific alarms to sound pretty much indistinguishable from each other in my opinion, whereas Mario and Zelda tend to have more dynamic music from the actual scenario be the focus of the alarms. With that being said, it's time to go for a walk.
Well, I'll be entirely honest with you. The Nintendo Music walking playlist might just be the best thing, and frankly, the only good use I can see for that app right now. Because as much as I love listening to my music, I actually greatly prefer listening to, like, casual instrumentals when I go for a walk. It kind of helps me focus on... Let's pretend it looks prettier outside. It's cloudy. It's perfect walking weather, in my opinion, but, you know, it helps me focus outside instead of, like, on the music. So I really do, and actually the first time I used Nintendo Music in general was specifically with the walking playlist. I think it's great. It's got fucking Nintendogs on there, you know? That being said, I think it's kind of unfair that I'm really only sticking to the walking playlist. And I haven't really addressed any of the character playlists besides saying how short they are. So you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Let's give the Chauncey playlist a shot. You know what? Maybe the Dead Baby playlist on Nintendo Music is just... it just hits right. So there's actually one specific... The Dead Baby playlist wasn't actually that bad. There is one specific part of that incredibly small playlist. It's Chauncey in the Nursery. By the stretchiest definition of the term, that was actually pretty alright walking music. It wasn't bad. The rest of it was, you know, it kind of felt like this. But, you know... Okay, Dead Baby. Maybe you got some bars. The rest of the playlist sucked, and frankly, it's still not good. But you know, if I'm being nice, I'm giving out partial credit. All right, let me go home.
After my walk, I had one more little B plot to try and squeeze Nintendo Music into, which, in lieu of studying, because I'm not crazy, I had my best friend and coolest guy ever come help build a mini PC.
Hey, can you hurry up with the narration? It's getting fucking hard to hold the camera.
Oh, sorry, my bad. The results of the test?
Nailed it.
Ah!
Bingo.
Oh!
You're shattered with that.
Surprisingly, yes. The Brain Age soundtrack really worked for what we used it for. Even after a few hours, it was still kind of clicking and falling into that good level of background noise that wasn't too disruptive while we were talking and goofing off.
Sorry, you know I have to make you listen to Nintendo Music, right?
While I'm doing this?
A little bit.
Yet, really helpful for watching my friend focus. I'm sure I was helping him. Or was it? Because he actually couldn't get the new motherboard working. Alright, we'll check back in on that tomorrow, I guess.
Well, hey again. Happy Tuesday. We're gonna keep this one short. It's almost 11:30. I thoroughly enjoy the Pikmin alarms, but something kind of came into my head this morning when I was thinking about it. I know I talk a lot about the Nintendo Music part of this video, but I haven't really mentioned this part about the Nintendo Alarmo. So far, every franchise, sans Super Mario Brothers, I think, has 7 alarms. And first of all, apparently the Nintendo Alarmo updated, and you can actually now preview what the alarm sounds like before you set it. Now, frankly, I don't imagine most people would have a specific alarm on this thing, because I truly believe the intended purpose of this machine is to set it to shuffle randomly every day and be surprised by every Nintendo alarm. That being said, for specifically Pikmin, and I want to say maybe even controversially Splatoon as well, some of these alarms just sound the same. For Pikmin specifically, I was woken up by yellow Pikmin opening up an electric fence. Okay, interesting choice for an alarm. I decided to look through the other Pikmin alarms, and I found Pikmin fighting a Bulborb. Okay, pretty fine. Pikmin fighting the Fire Breather. I think it's called the Fire Weevil. Okay. I listened to those two. They're pretty much the same alarm. You know, and this is the controversial part. Really, I think most of the Splatoon soundtrack just kind of sounds the same. Unless you're a Splatoon super fan and you're a big fan of fucking Chirpy Chips or whatever the specific bands are. Most of those are going to sound like the same song to you, especially as you wake up. as you come back to the mortal coil. And then of course, today of all days, specifically, fucking Tuesday the 15th, we got big news from Nintendo Music. The Legend of Zelda was added. The original Legend of Zelda. How sweet of you. For today, my 2 picks, I would have to say, I didn't write them down as I usually have this past week, so this one will be very off the cuff. I hope you'll forgive me. I suppose if I'd like to see any Nintendo DS music, I would greatly prefer to see, and this is, I guess maybe this is a little controversial, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. If I have to sub that one out with a purely Nintendo franchise, then fuck it, Metroid Fusion. And then for game number 2, why not Mario Kart Wii? Specifically Mario Kart Wii. I know Mario Kart 8 has a lot of music from that game, but it doesn't have system settings for Mario Kart Wii, a personal favorite of mine of that soundtrack. You know, once you say every other Mario, once you can say Mario Kart Wii, then why the fuck would I bring up Mario Kart Double Dash or Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart's on the Nintendo Music, and Mario Kart 8. Oh, I'm gonna freak out again. See you tomorrow.
Today's goal was to find more opportunities to go outside and listen to Nintendo music. Like, actually squeeze as much of what they like to call, going outside as humanly possible. From yesterday, my best friend wasn't able to finish helping me with my PC, so I took the opportunity to go get in my car and test something out I hadn't been able to see up until now. The car I had been using didn't have a screen or any form of CarPlay, but this bad boy?
Feast your eyes, Patrick.
What is it? So hey, we might have realized that, or you might have realized that throughout this entire week, I haven't really been using the most up-to-date car. And so I figured let's take this opportunity right now to see if, I don't know, does Nintendo Music even have, like, a CarPlay app? So let's pick up a good driving playlist in this case. Honestly, let's see. Just pick Splatoon 2. Why not? Top tracks. Right. I wasn't listening to this. That's cheating. I wasn't cheating, by the way. YouTube music. Nothing? Yeah, that's nothing. I probably could have Googled that, but, Alright, there's no Nintendo Music CarPlay app anyways. It's okay, man. I can just look at what I could be listening to instead. I think that's much nicer. Thanks.
Alright, gang, let's pretend to be surprised here. Nintendo Music has no desktop application, nor any CarPlay functionality. Maybe it's just a blessing the thing even works on a phone in the first place. I mean, hell, it's weird it's not even on, the Switch, or Switch 2, which it actually had an opportunity to launch with. Taking a jar of coins and a dream, I hit the road to use my funny video game noise machine and document the experience. First on my list was grabbing canned air so I could clean my PC before my best friend comes back to finish helping me upgrade the parts.
Oh, sucks to be me.
And after looking around like a dumbass for 5 minutes, I chose to pay respects to a local ancient artifact of the town.
Somebody cooked here.
Yo, Bo, why are you doing that?
Jay-Z ain't drop yet, bro.
Don't worry. Mega Man drops January 7th. Listen.
I ended the day by going to a grocery store and dumping all the coins I had been saving up in a jar like a 5-year-old for a Steam gift card, with just enough money to buy Garten of Banban 6. Just in time to meet up with Johnny and complete my super engaging PC upgrade side plot.
Can you give me 5 words to describe the experience?
I really enjoyed that experience. Can I give you 5? Can I give you five more?
You can give me 5 more.
I absolutely lied. That's
bullshit.
It.
And thankfully, my PC was back in tip-top shape.
Our scan is going up in time. Estimated time remaining is 4:30. It's going up. You can see the seconds are going up.
Oh my god!
Don't look at me.
Okay, now tie it all back together by mentioning something about the Nintendo Alarmo.
So while I was sitting here, restarting the computer for the 5th time, it hit 6 o'clock.
Yeah, what do you think of the hourly charm?
It was nice. It was pleasant. I enjoyed that.
Would you spend $100 for this alarm clock?
I don't know if I'd spend $100.
Well, happy Wednesday. Nintendo Music continues to elude me. Today I mostly came to a conclusion. That's it. I ran out of music. It's pretty clear to me at this point that from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday from 5 days of consecutive, like even just like an hour or so of listening, I have pretty much, as one of the more broad Nintendo fans, there's a little bit of everything for me here, but emphasis on little bit. Yeah, today we found out that Nintendo Music doesn't have CarPlay. And another thing I wanted to just kind of nitpick on with Nintendo Music specifically is the lack of playlists. So what I mean by that specifically is like, yeah, there's an overworld playlist for Breath of the Wild. And there's an overworld playlist for Skyward Sword. And there's Kingdoms for Mario Odyssey. Why can't I listen to overworlds from the entirety of the app? Why, that's just a weird playlist omission. Another one I would add is, I don't know if anyone would really be listening to this, but there's no playlist for like exclusively 8-bit, 16-bit music, which I find rather interesting, considering that they are really fucking sticking out like a sore thumb. And if there is to be a Nintendo Music app, I think that's the thing that you kind of tackle first, is like, alright, what if somebody wants to listen to like Super Mario Galaxy's orchestra soundtrack without having to hear Legend of Zelda title theme, or I don't know, fucking Old Man Cave, if that's its own separate soundtrack. I'm not fucking listening to that. I'm sorry. I was able to check the Nintendo Today app, which you will be hearing about more tomorrow, I suppose. Today, my 2 picks for games that should be on the Nintendo Music service is going to be Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Honorable mention to Paper Mario, the Nintendo 64 game, which I actually... And all of them. Fucking all of them. What are you doing? I swear, it's such a slippery slope of thought where it's like, well, do I pick this one? Okay, well then, I also like this one and this one and this one and this one. Why am I picking my favorite of them? I like some of Sticker Star's soundtrack for God's sake. And Fire Emblem, Three Houses. I'm not quite sure why we got Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance and not the Switch game. Or, I don't know, even Radiant Dawn for the GameCube. I'm currently streaming Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't know if I will be by the time this video comes out. But you should be checking my live streams. I stream every day on Twitch and on YouTube, and links here. Please go follow those, please. Oh, looks like I activated the sleepy sounds. Which is perfect. Again, this one's really great. This whole week, I think we've been very lucky that I haven't really had to hear Ring Fit Adventure. I haven't had to hear Ring Fit Adventure too much. Please comment down below if you fuck with my Italian brand Intermissimi Spider-Man pajamas. I wore them specifically for the camera today. Been doing that a lot. Can you comment about my outfits? Do you think I look pretty? Good night.
And for our next quick aside we'll take here, as I mentioned before, let's talk about the Nintendo Today app. That's the lifestyle app released to app stores on March 27, 2025. The Nintendo Today app admittedly touts nothing as its major selling point, primarily being a thinly veiled way for Nintendo to have their own ecosystem outside of the major social media ecosystem for news, updates, and announcements. The Nintendo Today app is only really as much of a nothing burger as you let it be, I guess. Obviously, not every day is going to have some earth-shattering content drop, and we aren't going to be having earth-shatteringly mid-Nintendo Directs every month, so the Nintendo Today app kind of just feels like a pleasantly themed calendar with really well-made and eye-catching animations for the day-by-day. In fact, my procrastination wins again for the script, since Nintendo hasn't been against gatekeeping their information from major social platforms to coerce people into opening the Nintendo Today app, announcing the Legend of Zelda live-action movie a day after the app went public. This was an obvious ploy to get people downloading the app, but in the time since then, the app had gone radio silent in terms of things Nintendo wanted to keep close to the chest.
That was until recently, with Nintendo uploading a bizarrely out-of-place short film titled Close to You, about a toddler suffering a schizophrenic episode and then having its first steps. Which, of course, left the internet in a baffled frenzy. Is it a teaser for the new Mario Galaxy movie? Is it a new game? Is it a new Pokemon game? Is it a new... It was Pikmin. It was so obviously Pikmin. Anybody with ears that play the Pikmin game knew it was Pikmin related. But it's almost like they made a Pikmin movie and then forgot to render all the Pikmin for some reason. Either way, the Discord was cut short when, a day after it was uploaded to all of Nintendo's public social medias and their YouTube, exclusively on the Nintendo Today app, Nintendo released a version of Close to You that added back in the Pikmin. Noticeably, I am not showing you any footage from that cut of the feature because Nintendo's copyright claiming anyone that shows videos of it. Read into that as you will.
The calendar serves as both an archive of things like the infinitely better Nintendo San Francisco store, because the Nintendo New York store sucks ass and is a tourist trap and I will die on that hill. And future events like Nintendo Directs, release dates for new games, demos, in-game events, most notably for games like Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and assuming you just leave it on your home screen and let it do its thing, I've actually found it a nice way to add a little whimsy to the horrifying device that is my smartphone. With 2 days left in the week, I was fully confident that I was out of music to listen to on the app. Full stop. The only thing I could think of to fully unlock the potential of the pitiful library was pursuing peace through playlists. So I literally just sat down and made a playlist using all of Nintendo Music's available catalog as of April 17, 2025. Which was not a lot, but the experience proved more useful than I honestly imagined pretty fast. For a pretty objectively, subjectively obvious reason. What I classify as walking music isn't always lined up with what Nintendo thinks counts as walking music. And while I had to dig deep through some of these available albums, I was actually finding tracks I hadn't heard yet for almost a week straight of listening. And so, to test out the new playlist I made, I listened to the constant craving for a hot dog I had, and shout over to the nearest supermarket for a personalized hot dog experience. With this being, like, the only thing I actually did that day, I can safely say it was worth the effort. Even though, in my own experience, I greatly prefer services like Spotify and YouTube Music's automated playlists, it's pretty obvious Nintendo doesn't really care, or even feel the need to keep you using the app. So what you see is really all you're getting. I can absolutely see myself never updating this playlist again and getting tired of it after a decent amount of music gets added, and...
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened immediately.
I mean, again, this is coming from the guy whose only takeaway from this entire app so far has boiled down to, I like the walking playlist, and not much else. So, I think it's impressive I've even had this much to say. With that being said, the dawn of the final day was upon me, and I had to go to work. So, I was honestly starting to suffer withdrawals from not being able to listen to anything other than a very, very small sample of Nintendo music.
Somewhere, deep inside me, my 12-year-old self just screamed.
Well, today is the penultimate day of my week with Nintendo Today, Nintendo Music, and Nintendo... Well, not Nintendo Alarmo, frankly. I've been using this for the last 3 months, and I'm going to continue using it, because, spoiler alert, for its flaws, I simply do love this alarm clock. Today we're going to start with my 2 games, and then we're going to go into a very short list of notes I've made today. First of all, today's choice for games would be Nintendo. Please add We Play Music. Or, double down, add Wii Fit. Wii Fit and Wii Music. Can I be honest with you for a second? I would have greatly preferred Wii Fit over Ring Fit Adventure. That would have been so much more fun. More sauce, too. I don't really want to get into... There's a lot of Ring Fit Adventure discourse that I really want to fucking get into this past week. I'm gonna be honest though, this whole thing, we're at the low point now. We have the playlists officially. We have the driving, we have the walking, and we have the relaxing music. And so we're gonna spend the last day of Nintendo Music. The weather's going to be fantastic. I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna shower, I'm gonna have the best possible day I'm going to, and Nintendo Music is gonna help me do that. This is a really dumb point, but if you want to label things as in the games tab, if you want to create more fucking artificial fluff, because that's why they do it, by the way. That's why Nintendo put Luigi's Mansion in both the 3DS and the GameCube spot, because they want to make it look fucking bigger than it is. Ugh. You know what Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U doesn't have? Any of the booster course packs. So if I click on the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8, it shouldn't have any of that shit. That is such a petty thing. But you know what? How am I going to tie all this together? This has been such a week. I don't think I've completed an alarm this entire week. I think the entire week all I've done is the alarm. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, that's all I've been doing. This video is brought to you by Chex Mix Remix. Get pizza flavor and buffalo chicken flavor and mix them together into a giant bowl so you get spicy buffalo chicken pizza flavor. Oh.
Happy Friday, gamers. We did it. We made the whole week. And now, I want to be very careful when I say this, because I feel like it might undermine most of the point that I've been trying to make. But I severely underestimated the amount of time it would take to make a playlist out of almost every single song available on Nintendo Music. Wait, see, let's just use, like, the Pikmin 4 soundtrack as an example. There's like 180 something songs, and like 50% of those are 5-second jingles, and the top tracks obviously doesn't include everything. But I will say, from my experience of making the playlist,
I am hearing songs that Nintendo Music did not pick for me, or would not have put, maybe. I have been listening to that walking playlist for literally weeks. A week in this case, but weeks period, because I've been using it since before I made this video. And I have never heard some of the Splatoon 3 songs that I personally like the vibe of and would listen to on my walk. So I really think, you know, as good as these playlists are, unfortunately, I'm probably just going to end up having to make my own, and there's no algorithm or really any personalized recommendation stuff that's going to fit what I like or what I listen to. I don't even think Nintendo Music knows what Mario game I like. I don't even know if I like it more or the other. I mean, if you want to connect to my Nintendo Switch Online account, you could at least look at, like, the hours I have in other video games. Is that a privacy complaint? I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. If I feel like if I have like 200 hours in Mario Odyssey and like 100 hours in Animal Crossing, maybe you recommend me some like deep cuts from the Mario Odyssey soundtrack. I gotta go to work today.
And, well, it turns out when you make your driving playlist primarily Mario Kart music, you get to listen to a lot of Mario Kart music on the road. Again, it would have been great to have literally any other Mario Kart soundtrack, but at the same time, Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 64 hadn't been added yet. So I guess Super Mario Kart was the only other thing I was allowed to have. Either way, to reward myself for an experiment well done, I got myself ice cream.
I can kind of feel sort of special as a way to close off Grand Prix mode.
There's 3 more minutes of this footage. You want it?
I have to play Garden of Banban again today.
Good. Anyway.
And so the week had come to an end. I had finished my week with Nintendo Music, and needless to say, through countless notes taken and a myriad of nighttime and shower thoughts, I had one overall takeaway from the app. While its strengths lie in its extended playback features and certain auto-generated playlists, it's very hard to say the experience left me feeling anything other than jaded. Jaded and upset that I was pretty much staring at a mediocre excuse for something little Joey would have dreamed about. And I really didn't leave much unsaid in my final recording.
Hello again. Good morning. It's Saturday, and that concludes my week with Nintendo Music, Nintendo Alarmo, and to some smaller extent, I suppose, the Nintendo Today app. Looking back on my notes and the real genuine reactions I had to experiencing some of Nintendo Music for the first time, I'm worried. Does that make sense? Maybe it's just in lieu of the most recent Nintendo thing to happen this week, being the Nintendo or the Mario Kart World Direct, but I feel like Nintendo Music and Nintendo Today, and sadly even to some extent the Nintendo Alarmo, is this disturbing trend of Nintendo's strive for mediocrity. In fact, I don't even know if I would call it mediocrity. I would call it malicious at this point. Malicious in its lack of content. Nintendo, you know what? Let's speak one-on-one. Mano y mano here for a second. I don't know how much effort it takes to port music onto Nintendo Music. I don't know how much effort it takes to make an alarm for an alarm clock. But I cannot, in any situation, fathom it is more difficult than the output you are giving us now. I, under no circumstance, can imagine why almost half a year into this alarm clock, we got 2 new alarms. And I don't have an excuse or an idea behind the lack of content. It's important to know, for Nintendo Music, I didn't pay for Nintendo Switch Online for Nintendo Music. I paid for it because once a year I'll want to play Smash Brothers or Mario Kart Online, and it's $20, so I don't care. I don't play the NES games. I don't play the SNES games. They're absolute dog shit to me, and I don't mean that in like a sense that I don't like the NES or the SNES. I mean that in the sense that giving me NES and SNES ROMs for $20 a month is fucking useless to me. I have a PC, and I don't need to tell you what I can do with it. I think paying $50 for extra emulation, GameCube, well, the GameCube's going to be Switch 2 exclusive, of course. Nintendo 64,
fucking Game Boy Advanced games. Why can't I just buy those on the console? But see, that's a larger issue. Nintendo's being greedy. It's being weird. It's being less. It's giving us, as consumers, less. And hoping we get excited when it gives us more. There's so many confusing caveats with Nintendo Music. There's so many missed opportunities with Nintendo Alarmo. As much as I want to say I recommend getting the Nintendo Alarmo, I don't. This $100 Nintendo alarm clock that I was given for Christmas, that I asked for Christmas, that my family went to Nintendo New York to buy. Of course, not without the struggle of needing Nintendo Switch Online to even get it. It is only good for like the most hyper Nintendo fan you can find in your life. And when your product is really only suitable for a demographic that's really into your thing, there's a fine line between people that really, really like things and that end up hating it. And so when you give a product basically made for a superfan. Hey superfan, this Nintendo alarm clock will play you Nintendo-themed alarms and nighttime sounds and top-of-the-hour chimes. You immediately set yourself up for failure when you don't put in everything. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate brought back every single character from every roster, but maybe you wouldn't know because there's no Smash Bros. Alarms and there's no Super Smash Bros. Music on Nintendo Music. I had a good time. And there are some things about Nintendo Music and Nintendo Alarmo that I appreciate. The first day Nintendo Today was available, they announced the live-action Legend of Zelda movie. And guess what? That sounds like it's going to suck too. I feel so bad being so negative at the end of this week. Because I enjoyed listening to Brain Age. I enjoyed listening to the Walking playlist. That's really about it, actually. If I have to sugarcoat it, it's pretty much that's it. If you have Nintendo Switch Online, I recommend using Nintendo Switch Music. Only because, to you, you're not paying $20 a month for Nintendo Music. It's basically free to you. And even then, it feels like it costs mental energy to use sometimes. So go through, pick your favorite games, put them in a relaxing playlist. That's it. Something I didn't bring up about the Nintendo Alarmo that does kind of piss me off. The screen is a circle, right? However, the circle is very obviously cut off by an LED square. So there's just these garish black curves around the clock. Are you telling me there was not an LED circle you could use? Or maybe that was too much? If that was too much, maybe you don't have to design your alarm clock as a giant circle. Maybe it could have been in the shape of, I don't know, let me try and think of a Nintendo-themed square object. I got nothing. Every alarm, every morning, all it is a pulsing circular PNG of whatever you picked. Okay, that's it. It's an LED screen. Are you telling me you can't give me, like, any visuals on my alarm clock? Any. All I get is Mario kind of reacting to my motion in walking left to right. The thesis of this video, I would say, is if this was the Wii era, I feel like there'd be so much more content. But maybe I was just 7. And so, unfortunately, my time with the Nintendo Alarmo, Nintendo Music app, and Nintendo Today app ended up feeling more like an attempt to convince myself things were better than they really were. As much as I'd like to say the Alarmo was worth the price, the Music app was cool, or the Today app was a fun addition to my daily routine, I'm sure all of you watching came into this video with your own preconceived notions about everything I talked about today. Truly, get a discussion started down below. Tell me what alarms you want to see, what features the Nintendo Today app or the Nintendo Music app are missing for you, what you think updates for these services look like in the Nintendo Switch 2 era. Go nuts! To wrap this video up, I wanted to touch on a part of Nintendo Music I wasn't qualified in the slightest to talk about. And that was the actual quality of the audio files, sampling, and overall mixing of the tracks found on Nintendo Music. During production of this video, an incredibly talented creator by the name of Dublin Caliph released his video on the Nintendo Music app. That was just that, and more. And while I heavily encourage you to watch that video and support his channel like I did, he was also gracious enough to sit down with me and talk about it.
Do you mind introducing yourself really quickly?
Yeah, I'm Dublin Caliph. I make YouTube videos on video game music topics, usually kind of technical. That's what I do.
So I
I kind of called you here specifically just to talk about Nintendo Music and to kind of elaborate more on your video on Nintendo Music. And you can feel free to include games that have been added retroactively if your opinion might have changed. What game soundtrack do you think got done the dirtiest?
I still think that my opinion hasn't changed. It's still got to be Donkey Kong Country 2. It doesn't even come close. It's so bad. Even right now, with the updates that they did, most of the soundtrack is still... If you watched my video, I talked about how they... pretty much with this game soundtrack, they had a CD release. The original CD release in Japan, there must have been some kind of an error. There's no way that it was intentional, but every track is panned pretty heavily to the left. You can even open up like any program, any of the tracks program, you'll see like the left is like spiked way up. And it's not like they just panned it either. Whatever they did, it lost like stereo information. So for example, if you have a sound that's panning left to right, it'll only go from left to center. It'll never actually reach the right side of the channel if you're looking at it in a stereo field. So that, again, that must have been some kind of a mistake. And that's the version that they used in Nintendo Music, but they tried to touch it up. They tried to fix it very clearly. I compared it, and they tried to pan it a bit more to the right. They tried to do some other stuff to it, but obviously there's not much you can do to fix something like that. But the thing is, with this soundtrack, they actually like released it in the US as well, and the US release is like just, I think it was a Club Nintendo CD, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know exactly.
Do you think what's the easiest way for them to like improve the service?
The service as a whole?
As a whole, easiest thing they could do. I'll even take the hardest thing they could do. For me, the hardest thing obviously would be like, I don't even know if you can classify this as hard, but like for me, God, just give it a website.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of what I was thinking. The easiest thing would be to just make like a web app, kind of like Spotify, or even a desktop app. I think a web app would be good so it could work on as many things as possible. That alone would make me probably use it at all, maybe for a few minutes, which is more than I currently do.
Because it's trapped on my phone. And,
yeah, exactly.
You know, there's no CarPlay application in it. There's no, I can't like cast it to a TV if I'm like cleaning my room or something.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that.
Because now I'm starting to see what they're trying to do is like with Super Mario, what is this, Super Mario Paint or just Mario Paint?
I think it's just Mario Paint.
Yeah, with Mario Paint, you notice how they put out the SNES ad like trailer for it, and then on the side they were also like, oh, it's also on Nintendo Music now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
I saw that.
Do you think that's a pattern that they're going to follow now from now on?
I think it's something we'll see more of. I don't know if it'll be to what extent, and I still think they're probably going to add, you know, just various things in their backlog that they need to add.
I guess that kind of wraps into, what do you think Nintendo's motivation for even making Nintendo Music as opposed to just releasing their music on other platforms?
Yeah, so I thought about this quite a bit. I think it has to come down to a mix of probably control and maybe money. I'm not sure. I don't have the figures, right? But for control, obviously, as we've seen in the past, they love control, even to the point where it's not even, you know, super financially, like, it's not, they're not going to make a lot of money from the control, but they still like that control, right? So already from the get-go, just exercising that control, because of course it's given them some success in the past with their consoles and whatnot, and games releasing in that kind of a way. But for the money, I thought about it, and I ran some numbers. There's a world where it could be possible that they would make more money by the few people that might buy a subscription for Nintendo Switch Online who otherwise wouldn't have, compared to just from Spotify stats. It's very close. It would be hard to say for sure, but there is a world where that's a possibility. I'm not sure. It would involve numbers that I don't have. They probably don't even have, because obviously their music's not on Spotify. Right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess the best thing you could compare it to is like YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
but,
even
so
then,
I think it's a mix of the two. Maybe it's not even, maybe it's just like that they could be losing a little bit of money doing it this way, but the amount of control they get out of it is worth it for them. It's not that big of a difference in the money.
That's actually kind of a fascinating thought, the idea of like maybe Nintendo's actually losing money having Nintendo Music as a service.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is entirely free. In a sense. They kind of just...
Yeah, if you have the sub.
Yeah, and I mean that's the $20 tier.
There's also something else I kind of want to shoehorn in here real quick.
Hell yeah.
Because this is kind of related. A lot of people, there's been like a lot of rumors and speculation in the past on why Nintendo hasn't put their music on Spotify, like well before the Nintendo Music app, right? And one of the best, in quotation, answers I've heard from somebody claiming to be involved, I'm pretty sure they're lying now, but was that they didn't do it because of, if they put their music on Spotify, if they distribute it through digital platforms, it would allegedly give people the right to license the music, such as in like movies or games. But I actually looked into this pretty recently, and I found out, even though nobody challenged it at the time, that is actually not true. You cannot, like, distributing your music in any kind of a way, whether it be on Spotify or as a CD, doesn't give anybody the right to purchase or obtain any kind of a sync license, which is what you would need to like have their music in a movie or game.
I was gonna say that'd be like
the only other
kind of a twisted version of like the public domain, right?
Yeah, there's kind of things, I think there might be some misconceptions because there are things like mechanical licenses, which are for cover music. I've even released like cover music officially myself, getting the mechanical license, but there's nothing Nintendo can or can't do to stop or allow somebody to get a mechanical license. If the song exists on any level, you can mechanically license it. So,
which is, you know, interesting because would you consider this an app for audiophiles?
No. Well, I only say no because, well, it depends what you mean by audiophiles, right? Like, do you mean somebody like me, or do you mean somebody who claims to tell the difference between like 320 kilobit AAC versus FLAC and lossless, right? Or some people who think speaker wire link affects the sound, right? Like, tribal, I think it probably is catered towards normal people, but there definitely are some things. I think they surely are considering people who might care a little more about the details as well. Right.
Is there anything you feel on the topic of Nintendo music, maybe, you know, over time you want to say you didn't feel like, maybe you feel like you didn't say in your video that now you think, or maybe just in general?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million things I could talk about. But I just hope that they just get more music on there. I hope they get more music that doesn't exist in the same form elsewhere. So such as like, you know, the Luigi Mansion or Wii soundtracks, those are like different versions. So I'm keen to see anything that's just a new version, and especially cases like Super Paper Mario, where there's actually an actual improvement, right? So I'm keen for anything that's just a new version, just to be able to have, you know, access to it. Or so that's what I want to see. I honestly don't care about the app. I'm probably never going to use it, to be honest, unless it comes to desktop.
Do you think one of the reasons they're not keeping it on desktop is because that would give people access to the music?
No, dude, it's so there's, I'm not going to get into much details, but it's literally day one people.
Okay,
had, you know,
that is something
proper...
that is something you can do.
Yeah, and not even just like recording. People actually had like one-to-one like dumps, like day one. Like it wasn't anything special.
From Nintendo Music, the iPhone app.
Yeah, well, like iPhone, Android, whatever. They get it from the server.
Yeah,
like,
my
they're
bad.
able to, like,
same thing. Okay, so we've already
we've
already done that.
Decrypt it, such. Yeah, that was pretty much day one. People in China, there's like people who have like these. Okay, I probably shouldn't talk too much about it. It's not a secret. I just don't want to, like, you know. I don't know.
I wouldn't talk about this if I were you. I can hear you. They're listening.
Yeah, but people in China, they already do this kind of stuff with like much harder DRM, like Apple DRM. That's more difficult.
So that's not even an obstacle for them then.
No, it was pretty easy to get rips day one, and like when they get the rips, it includes everything. So it'll include like the art, all the tags that do exist. So it's pretty much just ready to go. And that's just how it's like, to my understanding. I don't know if this is true for sure, but to my understanding, that's just kind of like how it's stored on the servers in that way. So it's really not hard to just immediately get a rip of like everything.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, not that I condone anything like that.
No. I personally think all those people will go to hell before they die.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
And that's going to be it for my review of Nintendo Alarmo, the Nintendo Music app, and the Nintendo Today app. As much as I'd love to say that my releasing this video on the exact 1-year anniversary of Nintendo Music coming out was some 4D chess Machiavellian-brained scheme to, hit the algorithm right and perfect, no, it really wasn't. Eagle-eyed viewers and, fans of my streams might notice that all of that footage was from the 3rd week of April 2025. And, well, truth is, life happened. I moved into a new apartment, I started my last year of college, the Sonic video underperformed, and it made me take a bit of a hit to my motivation, so I ended up really dragging my feet on this production. Did I end up dragging my feet as much as I did for the Sonic video? No. But even then, I just want to say, really, really, to you, the viewer watching this specific video, thank you so much for watching. It really did... I don't want to say this was like a really hard, big effort, but like, especially when you can kind of get that pie in your face of like a video underperforming, it can really take a lot of strength to just kind of keep doing stuff like this, because at the end of the day, we do it because it's fun, and this was really fun to me. I want to give a huge, huge shout out to Dublin Cliff, the incredible creator who gave his time to talk to me. We ended up having an hour-long conversation. And if you'd like to see that full conversation, you can actually find it on _live, my secondary YouTube channel where I live stream almost every day. I multi-stream on both Twitch and YouTube. If you'd like to support the John Chairs, and by proxy, Froggy, the artist who does all of the little illustrations of me and all of my stool boys and my characters, you can support her by finding her Twitch and her card in the description below. And you can also buy John Chairs stickers, or the John Chairs poster that I just released. I kind of shadow dropped it for my Twitch streaming audience, but I haven't put out a full commercial for it yet. And then the other thing I kind of want to talk on really quickly is, obviously, the elephant in the room is that Nintendo's really come under fire in the eyes of the consumer, I'd like to say, more so than they have ever before. The Nintendo Switch 2 generation is clearly planting its flag as the generation of greed, of anti-consumer practices, and while I'm not going to attempt to put it into perspective of the entire gaming industry and, calculating what PlayStation's doing and Xbox is doing, I want to say, for right now, from Nintendo's perspective, we are seeing a lot of really bad things happening. And, the Nintendo Switch 2 is incredibly overpriced. Mario Kart World was $80. Bonanzas, like, all these game prices, they're going up. And, with the economy being the way it is, that's not really the right move, in my opinion. Especially me, to this day, I still don't have a Nintendo Switch 2. I can't afford one. And I don't want a console that has, like, 3 games on it. You know the rule, never buy a console at launch, obviously. But it is obviously, it's very shocking to see this, and I would say that this video, this review of these 3 services, in my opinion, serves as a bit of a prelude to this anti-consumer behavior that we would end up seeing from Nintendo. I mean, the Mario Kart World Direct actually came out during the recording of this video, and so obviously I was greatly shocked and somewhat disappointed when we found out more information about it. With that being said, again, huge thank you to Froggy, huge thank you to Dublin Cliff for lending me his incredible knowledge, and of course, almost all of the thanks goes to you, the person still watching this while I'm talking. Seriously, please like and subscribe. Especially you, if you're listening to this still right now, chances are you're either A, too lazy to turn off the video, because I get that, I'm like that too, or maybe you really do appreciate the stuff I'm doing on this channel, and really, make that known. It can just make your day. It can make your day in a way you don't get, or you just can't see until, I'm just walking around and I get a notification on my phone and someone goes, hey, this video was really shit, or hey, this video was really awesome. And you know what? As long as it made you think something. With that being said, please, no more hour-and-a-half long John Chairs videos. No more. I'm going to try and make something a lot shorter next time. If anything, the next video I'm going to make will probably be around April Fool's Day. Unless I can think of any other short-form things to make in the meantime. So again, thank you very much for watching. I have been the John Chairs. Please go follow me on Twitch. Please go follow me on Twitter. Go buy some Mana Potion coffee, and I'll see you next time.